Now, in an era where sporting captains come and go, Mothiba is the longest-serving leader in the country, having been captain of the South African national basketball team since 2003. Mothiba began playing basketball in 1993, and he still remembers, apparently, his first game for South Africa, which was against Senegal. You weren't playing at that game, though, but you remember it very well.
Yeah, I remember it very well. You know, as a rookie, there were a lot of guys, obviously, that were seasoned veterans on that team, and obviously I was just watching. But you know, to soak it all in at the African Championship, this is the biggest stage in Africa. It was another eye opener. You know, that there are guys who actually do things that I see on TV, and you're seeing it live. It always brings back a whole lot of memories when I think about it, because that game, you know, meant a lot for us. That's the game we actually won. That was the first time we actually beat Senegal. And you know, we finished the highest we've ever finished and it was an emotional thing, because then I didn't understand how to feel. You know, the guys, you know, we had guys crying, and me as the sitting there as the captain, but I also as a rookie, I'm like, so why are these guys crying? But then eventually, after a while, and then they explained to me the magnitude of that victory. Then I realized, you know what? Yeah, this is the big league.
I mean, for any kid that starts in the sporting, the end part is always to go on and represent the national team, which I feel possibly could have been the same vision for you. You remember the first call-up?
Well, at the senior national team, well, it's basically a transition, because I had been in the under-20 national team a year before, where I was called up. I was in Atteridgeville. And then, obviously, after playing in the under-20 national team, subsequently, the same coach who was coaching under-20 was coaching the senior men's team. And then he said, you know what, one of the guys can't make it, so I need you to come in and you know, just as a filler-upper. And then it just so happens that at that time, the same coach, unfortunately, resigned. So we had a new coach now going into camp. So the new coach didn't know any of the guys. So we got to the camp, and then we started playing, and then he had to choose a captain, but he didn't know anyone. So that's how I was chosen to be captain, and everybody was like surprised, like this young buck who doesn't have even a single cap, but is our captain. And to me it was nerve-wracking, but it was one of those things that solidified, you know, my path, which path I'm going to take. And I took it. Luckily, I had a great supporting cast in my teammates. The captain before then was Quentin Denascent, who, you know, was a good friend of mine at that time. And also had the guy who's actually coaching us now, Craig Gilchrist. He was also part of the setup. And, you know, they got me comfortable. It was tough, but, you know, we made it work.
I mean, when you mention Quentin, these are the guys that have been advocates of the game for the longest of time in South Africa. And now when you come in, especially as a captain, you grab that, but the motivation or the leadership also comes from the older guys like your Quentin as well. I mean, most memorable moments while representing South Africa for you?
You know what, every time I put on the green and gold, my man, is a special occasion. But I mean, the most memorable time would actually be this year, when we played Zimbabwe at Wembley, where we had to win the second round of qualifiers to qualify for the African champs in Senegal. It's one of those things where, you know, I'm a veteran now, and it was basically going to be my last one, and so much was riding on those two games that I couldn't possibly miss. Even because I got injured when we were in Zambia, and I was supposed to be out for 6 weeks. So the coach said, it's your last one, you decide. You know, it's either you play or you don't play. I'll understand. And I took about 2 weeks, 3 weeks thinking about it, and eventually I was like, you know what? Let's be that man. You know, this is my destiny. This is what I want to do. You know, lead from the back. And when we won those two games, to me, I mean, there's not a lot of people who've seen me cry. But I mean, even my wife will tell you that I don't cry a lot. But that game, I actually eyeballed out, and it was the most proudest moment of my life being a basketball player.
But I think the biggest name you make yourself is in the national team as well. But that's not only that. I mean, you come back with the Basketball National League representing the Tswane Sun. I think you won 2 championships with them before even going to Gwali Magic. How was the experience then? I mean, you've hung up your boots when it comes to the Basketball National League now.
I mean, it was huge. You know, in the first 2 or 3 seasons of the BNL, you could see the impact that it's having on the young kids. You know, the buzzword now in most high schools was Basketball National League, and to be able to perform at that level, you know, we were the underdogs, and we managed to get 2 championships back to back, and it was also very memorable in terms of being able to play at home, you know, having your family, everybody seeing you do, because most of the time when we play away, you know, our games won't either be televised or they were televised on other channels. And for people to be able to see the game of basketball live on TV, you know, it actually had a huge impact, because now kids are actually not just looking at the NBA anymore. You know, they're looking at guys around their back door, guys that are there with them every day. You know, guys would hit you up on Facebook and say, "Hey, great game yesterday. When are you training? Where do you go?" You know, and people actually now get to find out that, you know what, this dream is not as far-fetched as we think it is. You know, it's just those small steps. The Basketball National League was on the right track in that regard. But I mean, for me, playing there, playing in front of home teams, home crowd, is always one of the most cherished moments you'll ever have.
3 of your toughest opponents in the BNL. I mean, I think if I remember correct, some of the guys that were playing at Opilani Biela, these are the guys from my township as well who introduced me to the game. Dlala Mzansi, who was also once captain of the national team as well. 3 of your toughest opponents in the BNL?
Sure. Well, the first season obviously would be the Mbombela Wildcats, who unfortunately I think they've changed to Mpumalanga Rhinos. You know, those were basically the young bucks who were just coming through, you know, trying to make a mark for themselves. Most of them were varsity students, so they had seen, you know, when you have to play against your idol, your mentor, they always brought it. And, you know, to be able to play against them and compete against them. And they brought it on the day. Well, obviously, at the end of the day, we slapped them in the mouth and won the championship. And the second one, I would say, would be the Duzi Royals. Duzi Royals, yeah, with them. That was a team and a half, you know. But it also motivated us, you know, as other teams to step up our game. You know, the game was not played at the same level anymore. You need to be able to step up and you know, put your hand up and be counted. And when we played Duzi Royals in the second championship game, you know, the stadium was buzzing. Everybody had written us off because I had been injured that year. So I'd only come in just before the playoffs. So everybody was like, no, Tswane Suns is dead. And then we came back and we rallied around and then we just made sure we beat them.
I want you to hold the thought on the last team. I think I'm guessing which one is it, but I want you just to hold the thought on that one. Also, after the break, I also want us to talk about some of the things that you currently are busy with right now, even after you hanging up your BNL sneakers. Now, all good things may come to an end as Mothiba has hung his BNL sneakers, which has ended an illustrious career. But it doesn't end there for him in the game. Neo now seeks to empower young people through sports and leaving a legacy. First, for the love of the game, but now his sneakers are worn on an empowering reason. Mbali, asikakagqibi no Neo, ungayi ndawo.